Welcome to The Explainer. Look, if you're a stressed out professional hunched over a screen all day, or maybe you're just starting to notice those little aches and pains that come with getting older, you've probably felt totally torn. You know you need to exercise, right? But the fitness world is constantly pulling you in two completely opposite directions. On one side, you've got the promise of the zen-like flowing flexibility, and on the other, the gritty pursuit of iron-pumping, muscle-building strength.
Okay, let's dive into this because we are tackling the ultimate dilemma today. Yoga or weights? Which one actually deserves your limited time and energy? We're going to cut through the noise and look strictly at the clinical data and expert breakdowns to finally answer this question.
So for a really long time, the fitness industry has framed this whole thing like a heavyweight title fight between two entirely different worlds. Yoga is always stereotyped as slow, super flexible, and purely restorative. Strength training, on the flip side, is framed as intense, aggressive, and driven entirely by performance. It kind of feels like you have to pick a tribe, doesn't it?
Well, here is our roadmap for the explainer today so we can systematically break this down. First, the great fitness debate. Then, physical health and metabolism. After that, mental well-being and aging. Next, studio versus traditional gym. And finally, combining yoga and strength.
Starting off with Section 1, the great fitness debate, redefining the classics. We really have to look past those surface-level stereotypes to understand what these workouts are actually doing to your body on a mechanical level. Think of each of these modalities as a highly specific prescription for modern human problems. Strength training puts this amazing controlled stress on your body to build muscle mass, increase your bone density, and generate real power. But constantly repeating those lifting patterns, or honestly just sitting at a desk for 8 hours a day, literally shortens your muscles. And that is exactly where yoga comes in. It actively counteracts that tightness by improving your flexibility, your joint control, and your breathing mechanics.
Moving right along to Section 2, Physical Health and Metabolism. Round 1, the heavyweights of health.
Now, what's really interesting about this clinical data is how these exercises impact chronic conditions, specifically type 2 diabetes. When looking at patients in these trials, pay attention to the HbA1c results. Both yoga and resistance training drove really significant reductions in HbA1c levels, which is absolutely crucial because that's a key marker of blood sugar control. But when you pivot over to quality of life, it gets fascinating. Yoga scored the highest for emotional and social improvements, whereas resistance training scored highest for physical and general health.
But let's isolate lean body mass for just a second. The jump here is stark. While yoga provided a nice little bump from roughly 24 to 24.6 kilograms, resistance training leaps definitively up to 27.28 kilograms. So, when it comes to actively building your metabolic engine and jacking up your resting metabolic rate, resistance training is the undisputed champion, no contest. But the data brilliantly highlights the absolute power of mixing things up. Clinical research from our sources points out a staggering 40% reduction in HbA1c when patients utilized a combined aerobic and resistance exercise regimen. 40%! That is compared to much lower reductions in the control groups. That is a massive clinical win.
So how does this actually translate to everyday weight loss goals? It's all about synergy. Resistance training builds the physical metabolic engine. It creates this awesome afterburn effect, where your body is literally continuing to burn calories to repair muscle tissue long after you've left the gym. Yoga, meanwhile, upgrades your internal software, your operating system. By teaching mindfulness and breath work, it directly cuts down on the stress-induced eating that derails so many diets.
All right, Section 3, Mental Well-Being and Aging. Round 2, the longevity factors.
If you're a stressed corporate worker running on fumes, or an older adult feeling the mental friction of just getting through the day, you really need to pay attention to the mechanics of stress relief here. Gym workouts are fantastic. They flood your system with endorphins and boost your confidence. But they focus heavily on the body and can leave you totally physically exhausted. So the crucial point is that intense gym sessions don't necessarily calm down a hyperactive brain. Yoga, however, actively downregulates a highly stressed nervous system. It literally shifts your body out of that frantic fight-or-flight state and into relaxation mode, actively lowering your cortisol levels.
And we can see this measured clinically. In a randomized controlled trial focusing on the elderly, participants who practice yoga saw their mental well-being scores jump by an average of 6 points after just 3 months. That's not just a minor bump. That is a statistically significant leap in feeling emotionally stable and mentally clear. The sources confirm that among all the exercise modalities tested, yoga demonstrated the most pronounced effect on overall quality of life. For aging populations, and frankly for stressed professionals of literally any age, finding a way to build strength without feeling stiff and achy leads directly to a much higher, happier quality of life. It restores that mind-body balance that our modern, fast-paced lives completely disrupt.
Let's jump into Section 4, Studio versus Traditional Gym. Round 3, Where to Practice.
Let's talk logistics. First, the dedicated yoga studio. The environment here is entirely purpose-built for calm. We're talking warm lighting, good smells, and zero clanking weights. You're getting highly qualified specialist instructors who have done hundreds of hours of specific training. You also get incredible variety, everything from a fast-paced vinyasa to a super sweaty hot yoga. And you instantly tap into this really strong, supportive community of regulars.
But do not count out the traditional gym, because it has massive benefits too. First off, it is incredibly cost-effective because the yoga classes are almost always included in your existing monthly membership. It offers the absolute ultimate convenience of having your weights, your cardio machines, and your yoga classes all under one roof. Plus, it's a wonderfully low-barrier, zero-commitment way for beginners to just sneak into the back of a class and test the waters without feeling intimidated.
So what's the actual verdict here? Well, if you are just starting out, gym yoga is absolutely your best bet for budget, convenience, and keeping friction low. Just try it out. But if you find yourself falling in love with the practice and you want deeper instruction, specialized styles like hot yoga, or just a dedicated, tranquil atmosphere, then it's totally time to invest in a dedicated studio yoga membership.
And finally, Section 5, Combining Yoga and Strength, the Ultimate Alliance.
Let's move to the ultimate twist of this explainer and see how this all builds together. There is no actual rivalry here. The most resilient, capable bodies out there come from combining both. Yoga directly improves your lifting mobility, literally opening up your hips so you can achieve deeper, much safer squats. Conversely, strength training builds the absolute crucial joint stability that prevents you from overstretching and getting injured while you're doing yoga. They perfectly, beautifully cover each other's blind spots.
So, if you want to actually put this into action, here is a highly effective, incredibly balanced weekly schedule. Monday, you hit upper body strength. Tuesday, you switch gears completely to a yoga or mobility flow. Wednesday is lower body strength. Take Thursday off to chill. Friday, hit a full body strength session. And then use Saturday for a much-needed short yoga recovery session. This structure ensures you're progressing in your lifts without letting all that stiffness accumulate.
I want to leave you with this incredibly grounding thought straight from our sources today. The best workout plan is not the most aggressive one. It is the one you can maintain. Balance is exactly what prevents burnout. Creating resilient joints and a calm mind is what keeps you in the game for decades, not just a few intense weeks.
So, I leave you with this final provocative question based on the amazing scientific synergy we've explored today. How are you going to update your routine this week? Are you finally going to pick up those heavy dumbbells? Or are you going to unroll that yoga mat to find a little balance? Well, the science says you should probably do both. Thanks so much for joining me.